dare say that to date, you just saw the happenings in Homa Bay County as of 5th of this month, November, and the happenings in Migori County as of 6th. In terms of just the celebration, people still mourn Baba, almost a month down his passing. So that tells you there's a sense of loss to the nation. There's a sense of loss in terms of the aspirations that Baba had. There's a sense of loss in terms of the hope that Baba inspired in the generations that he basically served or interacted with. Yeah.
Our audience, we are not yet to the topic of today. The topic is all about matters politics. Basically, we will be talking about the life of ODM political party of ODM after Raila's demise. And by the way, Mheshimiwa, if I may ask, that Raila Odinga was a fan of Arsenal as well as a fan of Gor Mahia. Does it mean can football fan base pull that political cloud?
Well, Baba was, in my opinion, his influence cut across, whether it's sportsmanship, whether it's the economy, whether it's the political landscape, whether it's the social justice landscape, whether it's the justice system landscape. So I believe if we are to mourn Baba well, then we must aspire to make alive his ideologies and his aspirations as a nation. All right, so that then we don't dwell much in the grief of his passing, but maybe look towards how then do we transform that grief into action. All right, so if, for instance, in terms of sports, can we have proper fundings for sports facilities? Can we have infrastructural development as regards sports? Stadia, for instance. How many stadia do we have as a nation? Do we have sports academies across the nation? Can a youth from Migori County, for instance, have that kind of mentorship in a sports academy to a point where they become heroes or heroines, for that matter? Yeah. So I tend to think that his influence in terms of his mourning should be towards how then do we transform what he believed in into the ideologies and aspirations of our people and the realization of that aspect of it. Otherwise, if we dwell much into the grief of his mourning, then we might be losing it as a nation. For instance, Baba believed in the ideology of democracy as far as political parties are concerned. And therefore, I want to beseech the government, headed by the President Ruto, that one of the most befitting send-off that Ruto would give Baba would be to pay the dues that are owed to political parties.
I think we will be getting into that later on.
All right.
Let us dwell now into the topic of today, the life of ODM as a party after the demise, after the death of His Excellency Right Honorable Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga, he was a king of coalition making. About 4 coalitions that were brought up as a result of Raila Odinga demanding that equality after an election, and Raila Odinga never won. It came that he never won any election, be it, if I take of example of NASA coalition, that when he was defeated, but later on, Raila Odinga could get himself back into government through any coalition. Do you think after Raila is gone, now Oburu Odinga is the party leader of ODM, and any other leaders, we can't say the deputy chairs, talk of the Simbarati, who is the governor Kisii County. Do you think they will fit the shoe that Right Honorable Raila Odinga could drive the coalitions even after losing an election? Raila Odinga could even later find himself in the government and of course having a bigger share.
Let me first correct an impression that Baba never won any election. I believe from where I sit that Baba won most of those elections, starting with 2007, 2013, 2017. in fact, the 2017 election was actually annulled by the Supreme Court on the basis of discrepancies that were very glaring. So it is not true that Baba never won any election.
Mheshimiwa, who declares a presidential president that this particular person has won an election?
It doesn't matter. That is why, in fact, if there's one thing that we have to give to Baba is that the electoral reforms that we currently have are as a result of Baba's interventions in terms of those elections that he participated in. Baba has given us a way forward in terms of how then do you address your grievances when it comes to election results, all right? So that then can you seek justice from a court of law, for that matter, the Supreme Court for that matter. There's so much jurisprudence that has been developed out of Baba's own participation in the election itself. So the electoral reforms, the digital aspect of management of our election results, I mean, just generally, that whole aspect or spectrum of management of elections, we give it to him. We give it to him. And as a nation, I think, if we are serious in terms of electoral reforms, because what you've been yearning for are electoral reforms, and if we cannot go the Baba way in terms of addressing some of the issues that we've had in terms of elections, then maybe we lose it as a nation. And I want to give it to Baba that Baba put nation above self, all right? So that then, even if he won an election and he was denied that victory, he would still not champion for bloodshed and the loss of lives. Baba would still consider the fact that that the nation is more important than any of us, all right, including himself. So we have to give it to him, and therefore it is not very right to say that Baba lost the elections that you claim he lost. He actually won those elections, all right? There's a confirmation by the Supreme Court that Baba won an election, that's why the election was annulled. The 2007 elections, you know what happened, the National Accord, all right? If you look at the sections of that accord and the report thereof, I mean, in terms of the election management, that was an election that was won clear and square, and therefore...
My question was that RAILA ODINGA, according to me, I can say RAILA ODINGA is the king of coalition making. He is gone, the party leader, ODM, and the founder. And you see, now the party leader currently that was installed is Honorable Oburu ODINGA. Do you think even if in 2027, coming 2027 general election, if it happened that ODM does not remain in the same government of Kenya Kwanza, they get out of the government. Do you think that formation, can they have that power now? Oburu ODINGA, can he have that power of pulling other parties to form a coalition like RAILA ODINGA did?
ODM is a movement, and you'd be forgiven to think that ODM is just a political party. It is a movement. It's a movement of aspirations of a people towards certain levels of governance levels, all right? So therefore, what Baba created cannot be dissolved by his demise. He created a movement that would outlive his demise, for instance. And majority of us forget that Baba's biggest and main advisor was Oburu ODINGA. From where I sit, I think Oburu ODINGA is the most qualified person to take after Baba. In as much as he may not fit in the shoes of Baba, he comes in with the experience that Baba had, because in all the dealings, political or otherwise, that Baba had, Oburu was always the person who was consulted. And therefore he knows how to maneuver the political landscape. He knows what aspirations Baba had. He knows the approaches that Baba used in terms of his coalition making. He knows what drove Baba in terms of a nation first before individuals. He knows how political movements are managed. He knows how to manage conflicts that arise out of political movement. He knows how to bring people together, because he was the chief consultant for Baba. That is one thing that we must never forget. And
now that takes me to my next question. That if you believe so, that he was an advisor to RAILA ODINGA, Kalonzo Musyoka, the party leader, Wiper, he is currently out of the government. In fact, opposing the government. He was in a coalition. The last coalition that was NASA. Kalonzo was among Kalonzo's party was among the parties that formed the coalition. What has gone wrong that Oburu Odinga cannot be in a position, or even when Raila Odinga was alive, could not convince Kalonzo Musyoka to join Kenya Kwanza government so that to pull the country's development forward?
Well, different political parties have different manifestos. Wiper Party, headed by Kalonzo Musyoka, had a different manifesto that was different from the ODM party, for instance. When they formed a coalition with other parties like KANU, Jubilee, and the rest, there was a like-mindedness in terms of what those aspirations for a nation was, all right? But that does not mean that individually as parties, then you'd have your different views in terms of management of political landscape. And therefore, even when Baba was alive, and now that we are talking about his death, the ideologies of a party, the manifestos of a party probably would be different. And these manifestos and ideologies would actually change by the times. All right? And that's why Baba saw it fit. Let me tell you, the greatest honor that Baba should be given is on the 24th of June 2024. 25th of June 2024. All right? Baba himself said before his death that on that particular day, he asked the question that if Ruto went, then what next? All right? Trust me, would be in a military state today. What does a military state encompass? All right? Because at the end of it all, Baba envisioned a state that is a civilian state, that is a democratic state that is managed by the people through the different electoral reforms that he had yearned for. He didn't envision a state that is managed by the military, really. So the sacrifices that he made was to ensure that, one, we had civilian rule throughout instead of the military rule. And therefore, if the point of departure from Wiper and the Jubilee parties and the other parties that were in the coalition would necessitate him standing alone as ODM, then so be it. And we accord him that respect, that indeed he made a sacrifice on behalf of the other, out of being a populist or out of being seen to be favorable to the powers that be, or the notion that was at the time of 25th of June 2024. All right, because you remember the Gen Zs were saying that, this is the time that Ruto must go. But then what did Baba tell us? That, you need to think first. If he goes, then what happens next? All right? I mean, if Ruto had gone, we'd be in a military state. In a military state, look at Burkina Faso, what's happening. In as much as sometimes people would admire the military state, look at Nepal. What happened in Nepal, When things don't work, schools cannot operate, hospitals have no medication, there are no laws governing us. We would be in a lawless state. You do not want to be in a lawless state. You haven't experienced a lawless state or lawlessness for that matter.
Mheshimiwa Osewe, when Baba got into Ruto's government, there were some of Kenyans who strongly felt like Baba had destroyed, like he never did the will of the people. The people never wanted him to join Ruto's government. Instead, they wanted Raila Odinga to stand with them and not to join Ruto's government. Do you think that Baba believed in democracy? Yes, but standing with the people and not joining the government, what was the right decision Baba could have made?
When you talk about standing with the people, which people? So define for me people, because people are different. That those who actually believe
they are voters who are Gen Z, who wanted Ruto out of government, who strongly felt that Baba did what was not the expectation.
Thing is, you cannot have a one-size-fits-all in terms of a solution for governance in any country, for that matter. All right. So therefore, Baba had to make the best decision as of that time, and the best decision as of that time was to maintain civilian rule. there are those minorities who probably would have thought that, you know what, Baba should have either sided with them to oust the president, and therefore then would get into the military rule. In Baba's own wisdom, because he had experienced that. Remember, Baba died at 80. There's nothing he hasn't seen in terms of his experience politically or governance-wise. There's nothing Baba hasn't seen or experienced. The torture chambers, you know, of the 90s or the 80s, those are things that Baba experienced himself. And therefore, some 18 or 12-year-old or 16-year-old having the right, the freedom of speech to write anything that they want on social media, be it X or Facebook, would have that liberty to do so. But we must then define, because we didn't have a consensus or a referendum to decide that, you know what, the majority didn't want Baba to side with Ruto. I mean, it's just hearsay that the Gen Zs went on the streets, and you cannot, in a political formation, you cannot champion for political rights or inclusion without, one, having a political party, without, two, having a party leader. You know, the Gen Zs came up with this notion of leaderless, partyless, tribeless. The formation that we have in this country as far as politics is concerned is you must belong to a political party. That's why we have Political Parties Act that defines how then do you register a party, how do you get into a party. That association is most important, so that then we could reason from statistics. Give me the data. How many were against Baba joining President Ruto? If you go by Baba's death and the involvement of Gen Zs in that death, look at the population or the demographics of the mourners that went to Opoda Farm. Majority of them were young people. That was not expected, because people believed that, you know what, the Gen Zs didn't like Baba joining Ruto and therefore they would celebrate his death. They were mourning. The Gen Zs were the majority of mourners in Opoda, and the majority of mourners in Kisumu, and the majority of mourners in JKA when Baba's body was received. How many people died at Kasarani? What is the demographic of those people? They're Gen Zs.
There is something that you pointed out, that a party, now ODM as a political party. ODM, according to many, they will say ODM was Raila Odinga, ODM was Baba. Now, being that a political party has its own structure and hierarchy of being, since the party began, that is in the year 2005, until then, the party is known of having those secretary generals who have strong stand. They could even go to an extent of opposing Baba's decision. And now currently the secretary general that we have, that is headed in ODM party, that is Edwin Sifuna, the governor, the senator, Nairobi County. The other day you had, or we heard him saying, pointing out that Baba never told us to stay in government. Who told you that Baba said we should be in government, despite some of the leaders saying we will remain in the government? This was Baba's will. These are ODM leaders, ODM hierarchies that the voters now, who are ODM members, should listen to. Who will these people listen to? You remember in the year back, in 2011, when Ruto was in 2016, when he was a Secretary General, he was the current president who had a stand that even he could not let Baba leave that seat after defeat. You know, ODM has been known of having those secretary generals who are of strong stand, the likes of Ababu Namwamba, Nyang' Nyong'o. Now, currently, the secretary general is singing a very, very different song compared to the chair, the national chair, that is Gladys Wanga, the Homa Bay governor, the deputy party leaders, and even the Suna West MP, who is the chief campaigner of the ODM, who is singing a very different song from the Secretary General. And Baba himself had so many times saying, when a Secretary General, when Edwin Sifuna speaks, Edwin Sifuna is speaking for the party. Does that say mean that ODM from Baba himself said the ODM party could not stay in the government beyond 2027?
thing is, the broad-based government is governed by a document, and that document is a 10-point agenda document, all right, or what you call the broad-based coalition arrangement. So it's guided by those 10-point agenda, and any Secretary General of a party does not speak on their own behalf. Whatever the Secretary General speaks, especially from a resolution point of view, is emanating from the decision of the Central Management Committee of any particular party. Edwin Sifuna speaking, it really should not be misconstrued to mean that he's speaking for his own person or his own thoughts in that regard. I believe whatever Edwin Sifuna speaks, and that is what even Baba said before his death, is that position of the party. The position of the party is that we're in broad-based government until 2027. Post-2027, there will be new arrangements, there will be new coalitions that will be negotiated based on where the members of the party, ODM, would want the party to go. It has been a clarion call that the ODM party believes that we either are government in 2027 or we will form part of the government of the day, that they're not going back to the opposition party, all right? That means that in 2027 we'll have new negotiations. Documents that are legal in nature have timelines and they're time bound. And therefore, if the timelines for the broad-based government was until 2027, so be it. You cannot change that document. That document is signed. It was a negotiated document. It was signed by both parties, that is the UDA party and the ODM party, by both their Secretary Generals and their party chairpersons, the Honorable RAILA ODINGA and the Honorable William Samoei Ruto. So therefore you cannot claim, those are flimsy claims, and anybody who is claiming that the Secretary General of ODM Sifuna is speaking from his own position or his own mind, I think would be very wrong to assume so. Secretary Generals normally speak the party position, and the party position is guided by documentation that are agreed into and entered into and assigned courtesy of the Central Management Committee of any particular party. So Sifuna is right to speak to his position as Secretary General. And when you look at political parties, especially in Kenya, I think the ODM party stands out as having had one of the most vibrant Secretary Generals, whether it was the Nyang' Nyong'os of our time, or Ababu Namwamba for that matter, or Edwin Sifuna now, or Margaret Langat. You have to give it to the ODM party that they've had the best Secretary Generals, who then would speak the position of the party, whether that position does not sit well with majority of members, or whether that position does not sit with the government of the day. That is what we need to have as party, and that is why those are some of the reforms that we have as political parties. All right, so we must allow Sifuna to speak, and his words will be that would reflect the position of the party, whether you like it or not. Sifuna has to be the Secretary General. I love the fact that the Honorable ODINGA has actually stepped in to contain the dissident that there was when Baba died. Some people thought that after Baba's burial, then Sifuna would be, removed from his position as a Secretary General. However, Oburu Odinga has shown leadership. He's called the party to order. We are seeing order. It's not that the nature of politicians that we are selfish by nature sometimes. And therefore, any other person would want to speak their own opinion or whatever, and assume that opinion is the party's opinion or party's position. But even Oburu himself has said that Sifuna speaking the position of the party remains the position of the party.
Again, does this mean that now different leaders in ODM have their different says? Remember, ODM is a party that believes that they all believe that ODM is a democratic party that believe in democracy. There, some days back, or during when Raila Odinga was alive, he then said that ODM, we believe in freedom of expression, freedom of speech. When Secretary General is speaking, let him speaking. He is giving his own ideology.
Thing is, politicians always speak their minds, And sometimes we'd want to be seen as the people speaking the party position or speaking to the party position. But the party structures, ODM is one of the most structured political party that you can ever have. And therefore, any politician speaking should not and must not be misconstrued to mean that they're speaking on behalf of the party. Politicians are selfish by nature. Everyone wants to, everyone thought, for instance, there's this clamor for kingpinship or queenpinship, especially in Nyanza, that who is going to be our next kingpin. Because
we are getting
it's fine. I'm just trying to answer your question. so everybody is yearning to fit into Baba's shoes. Lo and behold unto them that Baba's shoes cannot be fit into. Baba's shoes were so big that you can only walk into the footsteps of Baba. So craft your own shoes based on your size, all right, based on the structures of the party that Baba left, based on the ideologies that Baba had, and then just walk into Baba's footsteps. You cannot fit into Baba's shoes. You cannot fit into those shoes. And that is why symbolically, Baba was actually even buried with his hat, the symbolic hat that he used to wear, and the fly whisk, the symbols of power that Baba had politically. Those symbols were buried with him. That was to mean, from my perspective, that nobody can fit into Baba's shoes. You can only craft your own shoes and try to step into Baba's footsteps. He left us footsteps. Mm-hmm. He left us footsteps, and that is what legacy that we should be able to then follow. You cannot fit into those shoes, really. Yeah. So the D in ODM means democracy, and in a democratic environment, you allow everybody to speak anything and everything that they want to speak. At the end of it all, the party has a position. Now, whether you like that position or not is neither here nor there. You have to abide by that party position as a matter of fact, if you're a member of the said party.
Does this mean that now Oburu Odinga will not fit Raila Odinga's shoe?
He cannot fit in Baba's shoes. He has said that himself. The Baba's shoes are too big for him to fit into. However, he's trying to live by the spirit of Baba. In Baba's death, as I said, we must not, dwell into the sorrow of the grief of Baba's death. We must look at how do we transform that sorrow into actions. What did Baba want? The question that most of us would ask is, what would Baba do? If Edwin Sifuna is misconstrued to be speaking on his own behalf and speaking on behalf of the government or against the government, what should Baba do? That is the question that must guide us. If Oburu Odinga has to make a decision whether to give a party ticket to a nominee A or a nominee B, in Baba's spirit, what would Baba do? All right? If the ODM party was to organize a rally and in their own wisdom or for that matter, believe that that rally then would create or result into chaos, then what would Baba do? Remember, there's a time that the last Sabasaba Day, Baba had to abscond that Sabasaba Day. He didn't attend the Sabasaba Day because he had intel that there were some people who were planted to create chaos. So what would Baba do? That should be the guiding light for all of us as members of ODM. So that even if you disagree with the position of Sifuna or the position of the acting party leader, Honorable Oburu, then you should ask yourself, what would Baba do in those circumstances? So that then you do not go with your own view, but you go with the view, because Baba has taught us that there is a nation and there is the existence of structures beyond the personality of each of us. All right. So what would Baba do should be able to be able to guide us into the future of ODM. Really, if it's a matter of the youth involvement in the ODM party, what would Baba want? If it's a matter of the leadership, what would Baba want? What would he envision? Those are things that we must ask ourselves very openly and very honestly, and come up with solutions and agree to a position, so that even if that position is a minority position, if it is the position that Baba would have, then so be it. you know. Yeah.
Now this reminds me on issues, the by-election, the ongoing campaigns ahead of the 27th of September by-elections. Now ODM as a party has declared that they will give up that ticket to the, I'm speaking on, let me be very straight to one of the constituencies in where the by-elections are going to be conducted in one of the constituencies now in Homa Bay, that is Kasapul. The ODM, before even Baba was dead, they were very open that the ticket could be given back to the late Ongondo's Were son, that is Boyd, and that is what has happened. And we have seen the party backing up the candidature of Boyd to take that seat to succeed his father. Does the party fears to what is it a must that party should back, should use that resources to back up a political aspirant?
Remember, ODM had a process for nominations. Boyd Were emerged as a winner of those nominations by 18,000 votes. I think the second aspirant in those nominations, or participant in those nominations, had garnered about around 2,000 votes. So there was a process of nomination. Whether or not we agree to that process is neither here nor there again. I mean, it's subject to your feelings and your position. But the facts are that the ODM party decided that for our candidates in the by-elections, we are going to have nominations and no direct issuance of tickets. If we had a candidate that won the nomination, that remains the ODM candidate. And therefore, that ODM candidate therefore needs the support, or the full support of the party. And that is why, I mean, let's be factual. Before the nominations, you never saw the governor of Homa Bay, who is the chairperson, the national chairperson of ODM, involve herself in the politics of Kasipul Kabondo. In Kasipul, I mean, sorry. Never did we see her campaign in favor of Boyd Were, the late Were's son, before the nominations. After the nominations, and Boyd having garnered the majority of the votes as far as the nominations are concerned, then the chairperson and the deputy party leaders and the ODM as a family decided that, you know what, this is our candidate for these by-elections. We must accord him all the necessary support that he needs. We must win as a party, because parties are based on strength. And the strength of a party is a question of numbers, all right? You cannot go into a negotiation table without numbers. If you don't have majority of MPs or a number of MPs, then you are as good as dead. Look at the Speaker of the Senate in terms of his coalition agreement with the UDA. You know, he has at least one MP and two MCAs, and that is the leverage that he used to probably get or propel him to the Senate Speaker position as part of his agreement or alliance with the UDA or the current ruling party. So once a party has decided that we have a candidate, the party must spend its resources, the party must spend its expertise, the party must send its people to support and rally for the support of that particular candidate. That is not only unique to Kasipul, that is in Magarini, that is in the other wards where we have election, that is in Ogunja where we have a by-election. So you cannot fault the ODM party for championing for their candidate to be able to emerge as a winner in the 27th November by-elections. I don't think that is the right approach towards those by-elections.
Mheshimiwa, now being that ODM as a party regarding the topic we are discussing, Mheshimiwa Right Honorable Raila Odinga himself believed in the party, and we have seen the party withdrawing some of the members from some parts. In particular, we saw the UDA party now, they are so much campaigning on their candidature in Malava constituency. Where they said, I saw the PA to President himself said that ODM is in full backup in David Ndakwa's candidature. Does this mean, but Raila Odinga, when Raila Odinga was alive, he could not let any of the constituencies, end of the world go without a representative of the party. Does this mean that now the party does not fit the waters in Malava constituency?
Again, I think I'll go back to my previous presentation that coalitions are negotiated. The negotiation got to an extent of either zoning to some extent. We've seen instances of zoning where 2 or 3 different political parties make assumptions based on facts, scientific or otherwise, that they have their strongholds, all right? So that then the ODM party would negotiate that in Kasipul, we do not have any other candidate from any other party that is in the arrangement of the broad-based coalition. All right, and that is the same to Malava. In Malava, they decided we're going to have a candidate from UDA as part of a broad-based coalition partner, and so that then that coalition emerges as a stronger coalition. Otherwise, if you were to have a coalition of 2 parties, as an example of ODM and UDA, and they both have candidates, all right, and then there's a third force, all right, that is not part of that coalition, then you definitely be preparing for a loss from either parties, you know. So the strength of a coalition lies in its ability to negotiate and stick to the said negotiated agreement. The negotiated agreement was that in ODM strongholds, the ODM would have candidates there, and their coalition partners in broad-based government would not then front candidates. The negotiated agreement was that in UDA strongholds or perceived strongholds, the UDA would have their sole candidates and not have competition from the same other parties within the coalition of broad-based government. So it is in order, because that is the democracy, that is the party democracy that you always talk about. Parties can either decide to go full throttle in nominations, they can be able to do consensus in terms of who their flag bearer is in each and every ward or constituency or county for that matter, or country as far as presidential elections are concerned, or parties can decide and have a negotiated agreement and decide, you know what, we're in a coalition of parties and therefore we believe UDA or X party is stronger here and Y party is stronger on the other side, and therefore they have to, you know, live by those negotiated agreements.
Now, does this mean that when now the UDA candidate will lose the Malava parliamentary seat, will this mean that now the ODM party has lost?
Not really. UDA and ODM are 2 distinct parties. The only formation is they have a coalition. Now, you'd ask yourself which other coalitions therefore exist in parliament or whichever formation, whether it's county assembly or whatever. All right.
Mheshimiwa, does ODM have a coalition with the UDA?
It does. We have the broad-based arrangement.
That is not a coalition.
It is a coalition in its nature. Politically it is, because the ODM, and that is why, do you know why the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua was impeached? Where did the ODM and UDA get their numbers? Look at the numbers in the National Assembly from ODM. Look at the numbers in the National Assembly from UDA. Combine those 2 numbers. That is the vote that sent the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua home. Same to the Senate. So it is, the broad-based arrangement is a coalition, whether you like it or not. It is a coalition. It might not be defined as a coalition.
A coalition with 2 parties.
It doesn't matter. It's a coalition of like-minded parties. And those like-minded parties have agreed, and whichever agreement they have to, achieve, I mean, that is what they'll go for. Whether it's an impeachment motion that is tabled, whether it's an agreement in terms of who is the party nominee for the different by-election areas, whether it's the position on the Gen Zs, whether it's the position on the 10-point agenda, that is a negotiated document, and the negotiation critically form an agreement that would be called a coalition in my submission.
Every person is asking himself, who will be the next Luo kingpin? That is a question every person is asking. Oburu Odinga, indeed, who is the senator of Siaya, and it said one day that you cannot be a kingpin by forcing yourself. Raila Odinga never, he was not selected by anybody to be a kingpin of the Luo community. These are some of the issues we're coming back to discuss, issues Migori County and the leadership of Migori County insofar as ODM is concerned. Remember, Mheshimiwa comes from Migori County, where the majority of the MCAs were elected on the ODM ticket. We are coming back to discuss some of the matters regarding politics in Migori County, Nyanza as a region, and some parts of Rift Valley and some parts of Western Kenya. Stay tuned. We are taking a very short break. Don't go away.
Unatazama Ndizi TV Africa.
Being healthy is a strive everybody longs for. Human beings will spend their time online searching remedies for conditions challenging them. Some will go to medical facilities seeking medical help, while others will use herbal means to keep their health hazards. I am Mwita, and every week on Afya Yetu, we open the doors for life-changing conversations from wellness and nutrition, preventing diseases, managing chronic illnesses, and even mental health. We bring expert advice, real-life stories, and practical solutions that touch every part of your life. Join me, Mwita, on Ndizi TV Africa Afya Yetu Health Show every Friday from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. and be part of the change.
Unatazama Ndizi TV Africa.
Je, wewe ni mmiliki wa aina ya gari aina ya Alto, Probox, Harrier, V8 na Lexus? Jipatie brake parts kwa bei nafuu hivi sasa. Vilevile oil filters kwa gari aina ya Toyota na vilevile Subaru. Ili upokee popote ulipo, piga simu kupitia nambari 0739318606.
Unatazama Ndizi TV Africa.
Je, wajua kwamba mapishi si kazi tu ila ni sanaa? Njoo tujifunze mapishi mapya katika runinga ya Ndizi TV Africa. Hapa ndipo tunapika, tunajifunza, tunakula, tunasherehekea na kucheka kidogo. Ungana nami kila siku ya Jumanne kuanzia mida ya saa 2 usiku katika kipindi chetu cha Pishi Bora. Hapa ndipo tutakuwa tunapika vyakula mbalimbali ambavyo vitakuwa vinanukia kama vile mchuzi wa nyanya, tunapika kuku kitunguu, tunapika wet fry na vyakula vingi zaidi. Njoo tujifunze pamoja na tulete ubunifu jikoni katika kipindi chetu cha Pishi Bora. Ungana nami Ronalfa katika kipindi cha Pishi Bora, tulete ubunifu jikoni.
Unatazama Ndizi TV Afrika.
Mteja mpendwa, ni wakati sasa wa kujinyakulia aina ya flash disk kuanzia 8GB, 16GB na vilevile 32GB. Vilevile earphones, wireless headsets, unajipatia wireless microphones tofauti kwa bei nafuu. Yale ambayo unafaa kuyafanya hivi sasa ni kwamba unapiga simu kupitia nambari 0739318606. Yote unayapata kwa bei nafuu popote ulipo.
Naam, ni wakati wa kusikiza sauti inayobeba maono, busara na hali halisi ya kisiasa humu nchini. Karibu katika kipindi Sauti ya Uongozi. Hapa tutakuwa tunazungumza na viongozi kujieleza katika hali halisi ya yale ambayo waliahidi kuyafanya, na bila shaka kukupa wewe mtazamaji nafasi ya kuzungumza kama mwananchi wa kawaida kwa yale ambayo waliahidi kuyafanya katika maendeleo humu nchini.
But after making the payment, they delete it. Now, what kind of accounting is that? Because you are supposed to maintain the details of whoever you paid, so that the figures can balance.
Watu ambao wanafanyiwa sio kwamba ni wale wananchi wote ambao wako pale wanafanyiwa ile funding. Ni makundi haswa. Na zile pesa kufika katika makundi ikamfikia mwananchi yule ambaye alikuwa anachangiwa akapata kiasi kidogo cha pesa. Ina maana ule kuzurula, ule msururu wa kuzunguka inakuwa ni kama ni Haaland oil kwa mwananchi, anaiona kwamba analagaiwa.
If you graduated in 2016 and somebody graduated in 2020, the 2016 was to be given priority to get that job. But nowadays, members of parliament have taken over. They get the letters, they dish them in funerals, others they sell them to the highest bidder.
Kila wiki tutakuletea mahojiano ya kina na viongozi kutoka sekta mbalimbali na jamii kwa ujumla. Je, unajiuliza maswali ni kipi ambacho kinajiri nyuma ya pasia la uongozi? Basi hapa ndipo unapaswa kukaa mkao wa kutazama na kusikiza. Usikose Sauti ya Uongozi kila siku ya Jumamosi kuanzia saa 1 jioni hadi saa 3 jioni ndani ya Ndizi TV Africa, nami Jeff Nyakundi. Sauti ya Uongozi. Tunazungumza, tunajenga, tunabadilika.
Unatazama Ndizi TV Afrika.
Kila jamii hapa Afrika, yani chini ya jua duniani, ina chimbuko lake. Ndani ya Ndizi TV Afrika, katika kujua utamaduni wako, ndani ya Utamaduni Afrika, tutaangazia kila jamii, tukianza na jamii ya Abagusi ambayo iko chini ya Bantu, jamii ya Mkamba, jamii ya Waluo. Vile tutaangazia kuhusiana na jamii ya Masai. Tutataka kujua ni mbona jamii inaenzi, ama ni mbona kila jamii inaenzi mila na tamaduni zake, na vipi hizi mila na desturi zina umuhimu gani katika utamaduni. Utapata mpaka leo jamii ya Masai inaenzi sana ufugaji wa mifugo. Kuna jamii ambazo zinaendeleza mila ambazo zimepitwa na wakati, mfano ukeketaji wa wasichana, kitu ambacho jamii nyingi hazienzi kamwe, kukeketa wasichana. Haya yote kuhusu mila na desturi na utamaduni ni ndani ya kipindi Utamaduni Afrika katika runinga unayoienzi Ndizi TV Afrika, kila siku ya Alhamisi saa 2 usiku. Kipindi kinaletwa kwako na Mwita Peter. Usikose.
Unatazama Ndizi TV Afrika. Unatazama Ndizi TV Afrika.
Now, welcome back to the last session of this discussion. Indeed, we are discussing about matters politics, particularly the life of ODM as a party after Raila Odinga's death. Tonight, I'm glad to be joined here. We have been having along Mheshimiwa OSEWE from North KAMAGAMBO ward in Migori County. And Mheshimiwa, coming back now to the last session, there is this question you brought. There is this, from your view, you said that nobody will fit Raila Odinga's show. When Raila Odinga, before Raila Odinga died, the Honorable Babu Owino who spoke in one of the media said that after Baba, it will be Babu. And the scenario that happened during the body viewing, now the state funeral at Kasarani, when Babu entered that stadium, you saw some youths were cheering him up. Again, during that the representations of MP at Oponda Farm while Raila Odinga was being buried, when Babu Owino was given an opportunity to view, in fact, when Millie Odhiambo was like he was notifying the public over the MPs who were present. When Babu Owino stood, you saw the crowd was very much cheerful, chanting at Babu Owino. Does this mean that what Babu Owino said, that he will be the next Luo kingpin after Raila Odinga, is that true? Remember again, the Mheshimiwa Senator of Siaya, Oburu Odinga, who is the party leader of ODM, indeed said, if the people of Luo, we are not going to unite as a party, nobody will respect us. And he added earlier, said, and even posted in his one of the social media accounts, in fact, in his Facebook account, he said, if we, the Luo, if the Luo people are not going to unite, nobody will respect us. Does it mean now that the Luo community that is the major founder of the ODM party is not united, is dissociated?
Well, thing is, Baba was not a Luo kingpin. Let's start from there. Baba had supporters across the nation, including Nyeri. Baba had support across Coast region. Baba had support across Turkana, that is the northern part of Kenya. Baba had support across Ukambani. How many MPs does the Wiper have in Ukambani? Baba had support in the Muslim community, Wajir, Garissa, Isiolo. So Baba was not a Luo kingpin. That must be a fact that we all must respect.
Babu is trying to fit in the shoe, to fit in the Luo community first.
He cannot
then he will go to the other community and tell them, listen, my community have accepted me to become the Luo
nation is not
now
looking,
I want you people to back me up.
The Luo nation
as
is
the
not looking for a Luo kingpin.
ODM.
The Luo nation is not looking for a Luo kingpin because Baba was never a Luo kingpin. The ideology that Baba had politically, the ideology that Baba had, the vision he had as far as governance and the politics of this country is concerned, was that of the majority of the citizens, all right? I believe that they would have proper electoral reforms. I believe that we would have socio-economic justice. I believe that we would have a merit-based approach to issues as a society. I believe that every person, whether you're born in Nyeri or born in Kisumu or born in Wajir, you'd have an equal opportunity in terms of the opportunities that present themselves from a government or governance perspective. That is what I believed. And therefore, nobody, not if Babu, not Oburu, can fit in Baba's shoes. As far as Babu is concerned, I'm glad that the acting party leader, Dr. Oburu, has actually initiated talks with Babu, because it's interesting how sometimes perceptions can be far-fetched from facts. The perception of the populace is that Babu would want to inherit Baba's shoes, as it were. However, from where I sit, I think the facts are that Babu was just championing for his own space within the ODM party as far as the ODM ticket for Nairobi County is concerned. That is what Oburu got right. Because post Baba's death, Dr. Oburu then invited Babu for a conversation around the same, and we've never had Babu speak towards kingship or queenship for that matter. And that is why, as the media, then you must be able to, shift the truth from perception, because you could perceive the Gen Zs to be very organized and wanting to control government.
They are the majority.
Well, even if
Gen Zs are the majority.
Even if they are, we look at the basics. Are they registered voters? Remember, I'm one of them. Why can't they register as voters? All right. Would they rather buy bundles, or probably they would rather invest in economic empowerment initiatives that would then enhance or better their lives? All right. Voter registration is a must. You cannot make so much noise on social media and you don't have a voter's card or an identity card. You must have an ID and you must register as a voter, so that then when it's time to vote, you come out in your numbers and speak to the ballot.
Mheshimiwa, changes cannot be initiated only by being a voter in Kenya. You can initiate changes in leadership through so many ways. Like Raila ODINGA as the king of ODM.
We are a constitutional democracy.
Could initiate talks, could initiate changes in the government.
We are a constitutional democracy. That is why everything that Baba did tend to have followed the constitution, so that even the broad-based government, then the 10-point agenda went through parliament. We had a committee. We had a motion in the National Assembly that then accommodated that arrangement. The National Accord in 2007 went through Parliament. The handshake, was it the one with Jubilee, went through Parliament. So you cannot go out, because we are a constitutional democracy. We must live by the Constitution. Otherwise, if we go against the Constitution, then we are creating chaos. And it is that chaos that majority of us do not want. Because we don't want that when you're driving along Kisii-Rongo highway, then you have people who want to have your car. You must have surety that if at all somebody attacks you, then you can report to a police station and that an action will be taken against that person. That is constitutional democracy that we talk about. So therefore, you cannot speak outside the Constitution as regard any changes. We must always envisage whichever grouping that is to make our changes through the right channels that are laid out within the Constitution. I think that's
how I wish that we could have about 1 hour, but much more being that now we are running out of time, and I could want that we talk about matters Migori County politics, but before we venture into Migori County politics, maybe we may have another day to discuss matters Migori County politics.
Yeah, sure.
There is this question now that comes into people's mind, that Raila ODINGA indeed was at 80, that people knew even after Raila Odinga joining government could turn against the government and contest in the coming election. That is why you saw the Secretary General Sifuna insisted that we never signed an MAU with ODA with Kenya Kwanza, that we could stay in the government until 2027. You saw so many leaders said that we are going to have a presidential flag bearer. And this takes me to Meru County. The ODM chair said indeed the other day, he said that we are going to flag Oburu Odinga to become the flag bearer of ODM come 2027. The campaigner, the chief campaigner of the party ODM himself, I'm speaking of Mheshimiwa Junet Mohammed, in his Facebook page he posted, said that I have heard some of the people saying that our party leader is old, he cannot become the president, and we have a president in Cameroon who is 72 years old. We have a president in Malawi, so many presidents in Africa who are above 80. Oburu Odinga is just 82. He is a child. That means and that satisfies that Oburu Odinga possibly or probably ODM is willing to flag Oburu Oginga to become the ODM presidential candidate 2027.
I will not talk about 2027 when you're in 2025. All right? A day in politics is such a
Mheshimiwa, I urge you to go to Oburu Odinga's Facebook page.
Oburu Odinga,
he himself posted,
as we said,
the same post from Mheshimiwa Junet, and said, yes, this is it.
As we said, every member of ODM has the leeway, courtesy of the D in ODM, the democracy in ODM, to speak their own mind. I could today say that Oburu Odinga is my next presidential candidate, but then what will the party position be in 2027 as regards the same? So let us be patient as party members. Let us wait for 2027. Let us look at the possibilities of having a presidential candidate and the feasibility of the same. It could be possible we can have a presidential candidate, but then is it feasible to have a presidential candidate? The other thing is the party position will be able to guide the party members as of that time. We cannot preempt. Now everyone can say, I mean, there's been talk about Gladys Wanga, the national chairperson of ODM, being a running mate to His Excellency the President. There's been talks about Mbadi. Mbadi talked about him being the Joshua of the Bible, so that he says that Raila was the Moses, and therefore Moses sent Joshua to go and, find out what Canaan looks like and come back with the message. And that therefore, after Moses has gone, then probably we believe that it is Joshua who will take us to the promised land. I mean, that is his personal opinion. And as our party leader, Oburu Odinga, put it aptly, that you can have your personal opinion, but at the end of the day, the party will have its own, opinion on the same. So let's wait for the party position. The party position is not a position of one person. It's a position that is undertaken by the Central Management Committee of the party that is mandated to have a position on any affair, and that position, once it's derived at, then it is communicated to the party members. Yeah.
Mheshimiwa, we are almost ending up. And now there's this question everybody will be asking himself, that we have seen so many leaders, and indeed before Raila Odinga was buried and after his death, we saw the ODM national chair lady, that is chairperson Gladys Wanga. She came out and said that anybody who associate himself with Rigathi, not Rigathi Gachagua, anybody who with the Mutahi Kahiga, the Nyeri governor, who made some sentiments that could annoy some Kenyans, but he later on withdrawn the sentiments and apologized to Kenyans. And you saw now there was a statement that was released by the United Opposition, led by Kalonzo Musyoka, who briefed the media it was on a Monday 3rd, if I can remember, said that the United Opposition will be moving going to Oponda's farm to condole with the family, being that we never got that time to condole enough with the family during the burial day. But again, the same Kalonzo Musyoka, who said so the following day, he was there as a person. Does this mean that now the united opposition, the other members were not at Oponda farm? Now, and he indeed said that the other leaders will get there on time and come. Previously, we saw some members from the Kalenjin, some members from central Kenya, some members from other parts who went to the family to mourn with the family and condole with the family. And I have seen from this perspective, some people feel that now Oponda farm is going to become an epicenter of planning for 2027, because you can see Kalonzo, when Kalonzo went there as a person, he gave out some heads of cattle which were even more than what the community from central Kenya and not from Rift Valley gave to Raila Odinga's family. Does this mean that now Oponda farm has been turned to become the epicenter, being that ODM was such an influential party?
Thank you for the question. I think I would begin by saying that in Baba's spirit, remember I said, what would Baba do, or what would Baba consider? Thing is, Baba was a forgiving man. That's why when he competed against Uhuru Kenyatta and his victory was, illegally taken away, he still shook hands with Uhuru Kenyatta. When he competed against William Ruto and Kibaki the same, he was very forgiving. And I'm glad and very excited that the family of Baba, in their wisdom, inaugurated a spokesperson for that family. The spokesperson came out and said that they welcome everybody to mourn with them. Politicians will take their own different spaces or positions as regard mourning with Baba. And remember, the presser attributed to Honorable Gladys Wanga, High Excellency Gladys Wanga, as to preventing other people, some section of the Kenyan community, from mourning with Baba in disguise of the disrespect that they had against Baba. The family came out and cleared that. So I think we have to stand with the family. Remember, Raila was first and foremost a family man before he was a politician. So he has a family that is mourning the loss of their husband. Mama Aida is mourning the loss of her husband. The children are mourning the loss of their dad. So we must give it to them that as regard the privacy of mourning Baba, then the family should be able to take center stage and guide. And I'm glad that the family actually came out very strongly and said they welcome everybody. Regardless of the political position that you took against or in favor of Baba, you're welcome to Oponda. And I believe they even include the fact that Mutahi Kahiga, the governor for Nyeri, is actually welcomed in Bondo. So that is the spirit that Baba had, that forgiving spirit. That is what we need to live by, even as ODMers. Secondly, as to whether Oponda farm has become an epicenter of political power show or something, I believe yes and no. Yes, to the extent that there are people who actually, it depends on your beliefs or belief system. If you believe in superstition, that probably there are people who would have wished that Baba would probably not have been buried with his hat and fly whisk. There are people who would actually want to have that fly whisk and hat, including myself. It's a show of power that Baba had politically. Imagine if that hat would be crowned upon you and that fly whisk could be given to you to hold going forward. To be a powerful statement. So I believe from where I sit that, of course, there are people who would believe that they want to talk to Baba even in his death. That's why they want to visit the grave and mourn with the family and appreciate that Baba's role in the governance structure of Kenya, as it were, probably has some gaps, and therefore it's only that grave that can give them solace as to getting or bridging the gaps in those governance structures. So with that as is, let everybody go to Oponda. As long as the family are still open Baba's grave to everybody, let's visit Baba. let's, mourn with the family. Let's pray for him. I mean, it doesn't cause any harm to visit Opoda. In fact, personally, I visited Opoda, I think, 4 or 5 times. And in the near future, I will still visit Opoda, ideally. So going forward, I think we need to practice living as per Baba's spirit. That should be our guiding light. What would Baba do? If Baba was given a glass of water and probably a glass of beer, what would Baba do? That is the question that we need to use to guide our decision making as far as governance structures are concerned. One question I actually asked as part of our eulogizing for Baba was, what if Baba fainted in Kilifi? Because of course we all know that he fainted when he was taking a morning walk in India. But what if he fainted in Kilifi? In some ward in Kilifi? Would he get a better hospital that would secure his life, or would he still die? What if he fainted in Migori, for that matter, in my ward? Would the nearest facility be able to secure his life, or would he still die? What if he fainted in Homa Bay? That is the question that governors now needs to focus on. That if Baba had collapsed in Mombasa or Kilifi or Migori or Homa Bay or Siaya, then we must have hospitals that are well resourced that will secure his life. All right. Otherwise, we'd still lose him.
Mheshimiwa, this is I would like we continue, but our time is really running up, and this is a concern that one time was brought by Muhammad Ali Denyali MP, who indeed brought a motion to the National Assembly, saying that all the politicians should be treated in this country so that they can fill the shoes of Kenyans who are being treated, seeking for medication in this country. Maybe, Mheshimiwa, your closing remarks. I heard Mama Ida Odinga, she said during the burial of Baba, being that now ODM was Baba and Baba was ODM, Ida Odinga said that Baba taught her one thing, that she should love the political friends of Baba and let the political enemies deal with Baba as a person. What is your view?
I would agree fully with that or those sentiments, because you do not want to delve into the enmity of a section of people or group of people. You just want to focus on the friendship, because the friendship then comes with not so much in terms of baggage, all right? So that also speaks to Baba's spirit. If anybody claims to have loved Baba, all these politicians that are coming out to say, Baba told me, Baba said this. If you're an MP, please work for your people. Do those projects that would benefit your people. Let's have positive impact around schools, around health, around distribution of access to water, around access to very accessible roads. If you're a governor, please, in terms of implementation, or an MC for that matter, make sure that during budget making process you prioritize what Baba had wanted to be prioritized, okay? So that then we look at the majority of our people that Baba left. As you talked about the orphans, there are so many. What do they wish to have? The orphans that Baba left would wish to have functional health facilities or health structures where you go to a facility, you find medicine, you find doctors, you find nurses, you are treated properly and efficiently, and then you're discharged. The majority of Baba's followers who are now perceived to be orphans would wish that Baba envisioned a country where the education system works, so that when you take your child to school, they get proper education, they have properly enumerated teachers that then can be able to be motivated to teach their kids, so that then their future is secured. The majority of our people, our women in our communities, would want a vision that Baba had, that every county would then have at least an industry that would offer economic empowerment for women and youth, so that every family would be a thriving family. The majority of our people would envision Baba's legacy where electoral reforms are necessary, so that you don't talk about, oh, Baba told me that I'm the one who should be given the ticket or this and that. it is a competitive process. It is a process that is based on merit. It is a process that would secure the future of the future generation. I think for me that's all, and I want to encourage fellow politicians wherever they are that the impact we leave upon our death is what will speak to the legacy that we create during our time in office. So as an MCA, as a governor, as a senator, ensure that you leave some impact so that then that impact speaks to your legacy. Otherwise, if your legacy is that of someone who stole billions at the expense of dying mothers in hospitals or lack of health facility in terms of farm and non-farm commodities, then I don't think that is a good way to mourn Baba. We must live by the spirit of Baba. Thank you very much.
Our fans out there who are watching, have been your own Mwita Peter standing in for Jeff Nyakundi, who is a host in these political matters. He has been Mheshimiwa OSEWE from Migori County, North Kamagambo Ward, an MCA, elected member of MCA by the majority vote. Allow me wrap it at this point. Allow me wish you good night, our viewers.